So I'm Lauren Falk. I'm Debbie Falk's daughter. We are Aurealis collies. Hi, Marette. Hi, Nancy. I'm the middle daughter, so a lot of the times people can't tell which one is who. Hi, Naoma. So I'm the blonde, the middle daughter. So I guess I will just start with my story. I'll leave the beginning for my mom to tell. So I guess my first dog was Blake Silver Screen, but really he was more Morette's dog. That was her dog, and mine was Lyric, his daughter, who was out of Lochlearan Theme Song, who I believe the same year that Blake won was best bred by at that national. Barbara Cleek would have to double check me on that one, but I think that's true. So Lyric was my first collie, and we used to it was Blake and Lyric and me and Morette, and Blake was Morette's, Lyric was mine. We used to just play in the yard, like growing up, with those two. So that's kind of how it all started. I loved Lyric. She was a beautiful, beautiful sable bitch. I used to try to be in all of her pictures when she won. I've posted those before, and I can show you guys. I don't know if I have that picture. I have a couple pictures to show you. So I guess my first litter I ever bred was a Lyric daughter, bred to Country View Admission. I think it was in 1998 that they were whelped, and obviously I bred that with my mom. Her name was, the bitch that came out of that we kept was Aurealis, Bittersweet, and a really pretty tri-bitch. And from there, we had, everything kind of comes down from that. It's hard to think about what to talk about. I feel like I'm talking to myself, but how old was I when I bred my first litter? If it was 1998, I would have been 9 years old for that litter. And then my first CCVA was, it might have been 1990, but I don't think it was. I don't think my mom went to that one. I went to 1991. That's where Blake won. Hi, Mary. So that was my first CCVA, and I think my grandpa was watching me when my mom was in the ring. So I don't know. I don't remember anything from that, but it still counts. I guess from there, all of our dogs kind of come down from those dogs to this point. Most of them, we try to keep that going. Kind of what I wanted to talk about. What is one of my most memorable moments in collies? Probably when Jessie won the 2019 CCVA Best Opposite. That was a big win for me. That was very memorable. And I posted a couple days ago, maybe last week, when I was in juniors, when I won my class that year. I think the year before that I was second in my class, but that was the first year I won my class. So that was the most memorable moments, I think, those two. Morette and I used to show in juniors when we were kids, but honestly, I wasn't really into juniors that much, and Morette wasn't either. We kind of showed our dogs in the regular conformation classes, and that's I don't know if it was because competing against each other or what, but you know, Juliana was really into junior showmanship. She was in top 20 and all of that. But Marette and I don't know why, but we just really preferred being in the confirmation classes. Why collies? I don't, to me, collies are the best breed. And it, you know, I grew up with collies. I was born into it, but I still think to this day that collies are the most beautiful breed, the most, just everything, their temperament, everything. You know, to me, they're art. It's like a work of art when you get a dog ready for a show. Do the four of you share the same vision of the ideal collie? That's a really good question. I think for the most part, yes. I think that we all have our little things that we prefer, but for the most part, the ideal collie that we have in our minds are very similar. And that's probably why we all get along with it so well. And, you know, we agree on which dogs to keep, which dogs to show most of the time. And I think that is because we do have that picture in our mind of what that perfect collie is. And it's very similar between us four. So yeah, I think that's why it all works and kind of meshes together with us, you know, being four people, having that same vision. You know, me, Marette, and Juliana were really lucky to grow up with a lot of great people to watch on the West Coast. So that's been really great as well. So many questions. Who is your favorite collie that you didn't breed or own, past or present? That's a really good question, Jules. That's a hard question. My favorite one. There's a lot. I would have to say really, I loved a lot of Janine's dogs. Janine was one of the people that I really admired growing up. She was very good friends with my mom, and how she takes care of her dogs, how she presents her dogs. So her dogs were always beautiful to me. I don't know if I could say like one dog that was my favorite, because there were just many dogs. What collie gives you inspiration from the past? That's kind of the same question. Blue Jeans obviously was really beautiful. She is a dog that I think was just spectacular. And a lot of the Country View dogs, especially, you know, the dogs behind Blake were really beautiful. And I really, a lot of the Country View dogs, I think were just beautiful, and I would, ideally, that's what, you know, I would strive for. What are the 4 or 5 virtues that a special collie must have? Hi, John. Eye placement is huge for me. You can have, you know, a pretty eye shape, but if it's in the wrong place, I just can't do it. Clean head, beautiful outline. I love a clean cut throat here. I think that's 4. Did I say 4? So eye placement, eye shape, outline, and balance. Balance is really huge. I have a thing where I don't like big hocks. I think it ruins the balance of a dog. You know, so that outline definitely makes a difference. There's so many questions, I'm getting kind of lost. Oh, I'm sorry. Tell Alicia I'm sorry. Jules stole her question. Now I don't know how many I said now. But I did want to talk about some of the people. When you grow up in collies, it's a little bit different. You grow up watching people, and you go to CCUA. Big hawks like I feel like you want like cute little hawks, not too long, you know, where they look high on their leg. Um, it's like a pet peeve of mine. It bothers me. So I like cute little hawks, not too tall, where they look tall on their leg. I hope that makes sense. But you know, my mom obviously taught us a lot on how to take care of the dogs. I remember, like, you know, when we were kids, Marat would do the dog poop, and then she would make me do the dog poop. And then when I got old enough, I would make Juliana do the dog poop. So it's like whoever was oldest didn't have to do it. So that was Juliana for a while who had to do that. Hope I'm not going all over the place, because it's hard to answer questions and talk about stuff, but I do like the questions because it is interesting. Go back to cookies. When you close your eyes, what collie do you see is the one that comes closest to perfection? That's a really good question. One collie that I really thought was very beautiful, you know, obviously the Critics' Choice. He was a beautiful dog. When I close my eyes and think of a dog, really that's what comes to mind. He just has that collie smile. Everything about him, you know, is something that when I close my eyes and think of a perfect collie, that's a lot of what I envision. One of the main dogs that I envision when I close my eyes and think of the perfect collie. Let's see what else I have here. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about the people that I, you know, admired growing up. Janine was a big influence. Obviously, my mom, she taught us basically everything that we know. Really big influences. I always admired and respected Tom and Ioma, and John, and Dan Cardoza. Growing up, those were, you know, the people you looked up to, the people who had done so much before you, and, you know, just, you could learn so much from them. And I feel like when you grow up in collies, or in any breed really, it's, you know, it's very different. You can hear my dogs barking. But, you know, you grow up really looking up to people and, you know, learning from them from a young age, and really taking that in and absorbing it. And, you know, I remember going to the National, and it's funny that I see Debbie Holland's name come up, because I remember watching Debbie, and her dogs were always so soft. And my mom used to always tell us, you know, Tom would say, you want to make them soft and round. You always want them to look soft and round. So I, you know, taking that in and actually listening to it and trying to emulate that. I think when you grow up in collies, you take it in a little bit differently, and you know, have that time to learn how to do that over the years. You know, and on the West Coast, like I was going to say earlier, we had a lot of great people to look up to. You know, we had the Wieners who in California, you know, watching them handle, and Nancy Anstruther, watching her handle her dogs, you know, is how we learned to really handle, yeah, soft and round. But yeah, that's how we, you know, just watching the people that you really respected, and who, you know, were really respected. We were lucky enough to get to see how, you know, they worked in the ring and how they took care of their dogs. One thing that I learned from my mom and Janine is, you know, when you're at a show, you know, you treat your dog like gold. You take them on long walks. You always make sure they have water. So that's another thing. Growing up, you learn how to care for the dogs really well, and you learn it at a young age. You know, that it's very fun, but you got to take care of the dog, and that's the first priority. What was one of your most exciting wins? So I said what was one of my most memorable, but one of my most exciting wins was when Jesse finished, actually. So Jesse, he had a couple minors and he had 2 specialty 5-point majors. And I took him to the Portland shows in Portland, Oregon, the big Rose City Classic. So it was 5-point majors every day. And he lost every day, and it was the last day of the show. And I had gone to the show by myself because I'd just taken Jesse, and he was the only one I was showing. And that last day, I just said, I remember saying to people, like, I'm going to lose anyway, so I'm just going to stuff him with hairspray, get him all groomed up. Like, if I get kicked out for having stuff on him, then I'm going to lose anyway. And the judge was Monica Canestrini, and she gave him breed over everyone, so he got to go in the group for the first time, and he finished with a third 5-point major. So that was the most exciting win. I think I cried, and I think I've only cried 3 times. The second time was with another dog, but that was probably the most exciting win. Would you consider owning a smooth? So we do have 2 smooths. We have Chanel, Champion Aurealis Ambition, and her son, Champion Aurealis Light the Way. He just finished, and they're both smooth blues. Do you think the collies of the past were better than the present, or only certain virtues not as easily found today? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I think a lot of the collies of the past were more balanced. And I feel like in the present, there's a lot of trends. You know, a lot of people get into the white factoring, which really, I'm not really a fan of the white factoring, even though we do have a lot of white factor dogs. I think balance has been a little bit lost. But some of the head pieces are really beautiful. There are some really beautiful heads. But I think balance is something that needs, has been a little bit lost. How did Jesse end up being your dog to show? Did you choose him as a puppy? Yes. So Jesse, it's actually a funny story. So when we got Alex, our Champion Aurealis, Mila's Aurealis Latin Samba from Lynn, we bred him to our Tartanside bitch from John, Champion Tartanside Brocade. But he was 8 or 9 months old, so we didn't think we just let them out together, not thinking that he would know anything. And Juliana comes inside the house and she goes, the dogs are stuck together. And so we go out, and he had tied with Emma. And so that's how Bella and Jesse were conceived by accident. And so when Jesse was born, it was a litter of 3. And it was Bella, Jesse, and there's a sister named Miley. And so, yeah, from the moment he was born, he was my dog. I don't know why, but sometimes they just pick you. So he picked me, and from then on, he was my dog. So I don't know how he picked me, but, from the beginning, he was really just mine. Jesse should make an appearance. I thought about it, but I figured he probably would jump off the couch and knock over everything, because he has a tendency to do that. I mean, I'm really liking these questions. If you guys have more questions, I don't know how long I've been talking. I don't know how long this is supposed to be. But, What else can we talk about? Oh, one of the, I mentioned how, you know, I really looked up to Janine when I was a kid. And at this CCA, you know, Janine came to the National. I don't think she had been to the National for a couple years. But she brought a spray, you know, the spray that I don't even know what it was, for Jessie, because she was Jessie's biggest fan. And it was really cool for someone, you know, that I admired so much to bring something for me to groom him with at the Nationals. So that meant a lot for her to do that. Talk about the influences of others shaping you. Like I said, I mean, I guess I already answered that, because I talked about, you know, watching people. Who does most of the puppy training? Any secrets? I think we all kind of train whatever one we're showing. Any secrets? So we all kind of train them. It just kind of depends. I don't think we have any secrets. Honestly, some dogs, it's really easy to train and they just get it. You know, like the puppy I have now, I didn't even have to teach her. She just got it. But I do have a secret. I remember back when I was showing String of Pearls, which was the lyric daughter. So this probably was in like 1999 or 2000. And she just didn't get how to show. So I don't know if you guys remember Tony Williams. He used to be with, you know, show dogs with Michelle Altier, Bravo Collies. But he had a bitch he was showing. We were outside the ring and he was just showing his dog, and Kyra looked over and she was just watching it, and it finally clicked in her brain what she was supposed to be doing, just because she's just watching another dog. And she you know, she understood her ears need to come up. So I guess that's a secret, that if you practice with other dogs in front of another dog, that sometimes it'll click in their brain. And she showed after that all the time. She just didn't understand what she was supposed to do before that. Have you had any other, let's see. What would your advice be to aspiring breeders starting in the breed today? To listen to the people before you and actually really absorb that. You know, there's a reason why the people who do well do well, and why their dogs are so beautiful. There's a lot of hard work that goes into that, a lot of vision, a lot of you know, years of thinking beforehand that go into that. So watching and listening, watch those people. You know, I can't stress enough how much just watching the handlers before me and saying, I like how they did that, and then making that part of my own handling. And as far as breeding, you always want to have a vision. You never want to just do a breeding to do a breeding. You know, always think about what you are trying to get out of that breeding. Why are you doing it? You know, what is your hope? What is that vision in your mind, that perfect collie in there, that you're working towards? You know, maybe it's not this litter, but maybe you're inching your way there. So that would be my advice to new breeders in the breed, and handlers, to just listen and to watch and to have that vision in your mind. First, create that vision, because that's what you're going to be going back to with everything. What is one lesson you have learned in your time as a junior that you think some juniors could use moving forward? one lesson I learned as a junior is that the hard dogs make you a better junior. Anybody can take in a dog that shows and stands there. It's the hard dogs, the ones that, you know, don't stand still, the ones that don't want to show, that make you a better handler and, you know, teach you how to handle that situation. So that would be my advice to juniors. You know, you might not win because you don't have the perfect dog, but it's not really about that. It's about, you know, improving your handling skills. And you might not win, but at least you learned something from that. You know, so those dogs that are hard really will help you in the long run. Just maybe not in the, you know, at that moment. Let's see. What breed goals that you have not already achieved are you shooting for? That's a good one. I mean, I think we all want to breed the perfect collie. I don't know if it exists, but obviously getting as close to that as possible. And that means a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But, you know, I have not gone best in show at a show or any of that. So that would be amazing to do as far as handling. But for breeding, you know, breeding closest to that vision in my mind would be what I want to achieve, you know, that perfect collie in my head of that picture. Any grooming tips? What are your favorite products? Anything we would not expect? No. If I'm trying to, you know, groom a dog, or get them in coat, I know that, you know, just putting conditioner and water in their coat over a couple weeks, even just once a week, really helps. But I don't think we do anything that's really surprising. Honestly, just like water goes a long way, and putting a little conditioner is great, but I don't think we do anything that's surprising. Let's see. I feel like I might be going too long. I agree that, you know, you do have to have your hands on to know really what you want your vision of a collie to be. I think over time, it gets to a point where you can see what you feel. You know, when you are newer, I think you do have to feel the dogs, but it comes to a point where you really can see, and you go over it, and you know, and you hope that it feels the way you see it. But I do agree, to know that vision in your head, to put your hands on a dog really, you know, makes a difference. Is it over an hour already? I hope not. Do I have a funny family story to share? Yes. No. Someone said no. That's Jessie barking. I guess a funny family story. There's a lot. My mom just said many. There's a lot. I'll tell one. So, when me and Marat were kids, so we got to practice grooming on, you know, that's Jessie. On, you know, Blake and, no, Juliana, I'm not saying that story. So Marat and I, were just menaces, I think. And, I remember my mom was doing a breeding somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but we were supposed to stay inside. You know, we were too young to be seeing what that was. And of course, me and Marat were like, oh yeah, we'll stay in, but we don't. And we go sneaking around, and they were outside doing the breeding, and so me and Marat sneak around, and we're like in the bushes, being, you know, what are they doing? And I don't know, I just remember this so vivid. They heard us, because obviously we're being loud, and yelled at us to get back inside, but it was too late. We already saw what was happening. So I think that was like the first breeding that I ever witnessed, and, you know, we weren't even supposed to be there. So that's kind of a funny story that me and Marat have, just because we were being bad and not listening. Yeah, they're bad. Jesse's the barker, and he gets everybody going. Now that you've had a best opposite sex win at CCVA, what do you think you need to do to breed a CCVA best of breed winner? I think every breeding I do, you know, you hope that that special one is in there. So that's all I can keep doing, is having, you know, I keep talking about this, but that picture in your mind of the perfect collie and trying to achieve that, and then hoping all those, you know, the pieces that come together with it, is it their day, all of that come together to make that happen. You know, that's obviously a huge dream, especially, you know, for me, for my sisters, everybody in collies. So just keeping on doing that, keeping true to my vision in my head, and continuing to strive for that. I don't know if that'll happen, but you can only hope. And I feel like if I just keep pushing towards that, maybe I'll get there, maybe I won't, but you never know. And that's all I can do is keep that vision true in my mind, and try to achieve it. I don't know if there's any other questions. I don't know how long it's been. But I guess it's only been 40 minutes. Well, if anybody has any other questions, otherwise, my ideal vision, oh, okay. I don't really have a preference on color. I used to love tries when I was a kid. I mean, I had 2 tries when I was, but I'd say that's my least favorite color now, but I really don't have a preference on color. But I love a pretty balanced picture. You know, you have to have the type first, and you see that as soon as you see the dog, as soon as they walk in the ring, or, you know, as soon as they're whelped, you know if they have that type or if they don't. And as they grow, if they continue to have that. So to me, type is most important. And then, you know, I love a beautiful head. I really am a head hunter. They have to have it all. The ideal collie has it all. They have a beautiful head. They have the balance. They have the expression with the correct eye placement. You know, one thing I really hate, I keep talking about things I don't like on dogs, but I hate a drop off at the end of the nose. I think it ruins a look, and that's really important to me. But the ideal collie has it all: temperament, attitude. They gotta own the ground they walk on, but have that beauty as well. So that would be my ideal collie. I mean, just attitude that you can see, beautiful head and beautiful outline, and beautiful expression, because it wouldn't be a collie without it. I'm not sure if you said this already, but what has been your best show moment in your life so far? I did say that already. How did you begin getting a dog ready for a show? Oh, yeah. So Marette and I think I might have mentioned that a little bit, but Marette and I used to, practice trimming when we were kids on the veteran dogs or the dogs that weren't being shown. Our mom would let us trim them up and mess up. But we also used to practice on our stuffed animals. So I had a Siberian Husky stuffed animal that I ruined because I thought I was giving it the perfect head trim. And I was so upset about it that I convinced myself that it would grow back on this stuffed animal. But Marette and I used to practice on the stuffed animals. And I used to have a stuffed animal collie, which I have a picture of it, that I would drag to the shows, put on the grooming table when my mom was done, and I would put it on a leash and walk it around the show, and I would chalk it. And this is the picture. Maybe I can turn this around. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I'm literally grooming a stuffed animal with, notice there's no choke chain, it's just hooked to the ear. So I don't know, but that's what we used to do if we couldn't trim the dogs. So I don't know where that came from. We would chalk stuffed animals, but so that's how we learned to groom and trim, but we were lucky enough, Blake was one of the ones that we used to learn how to trim on, so we were really lucky to, learn from that. And our mom is an expert trimmer. So, I think she would always say that she learned how to trim hawks from Steve Barger. So her hawks are always perfect. Her ears are always perfect. So it took me a long time to learn how she did ears, like a long time. And I still can't trim ears like my mom does. I don't even know how she does it. They're just always perfect. Never too much, just perfect. So yeah, I think that's everything. Unless there's more questions, but I don't have anything else that I wrote. So, okay, there are more questions. How do you make breeding decisions? Is it something you all weigh in on? What happens if you don't agree? We do all weigh in on breeding decisions, but it kind of depends. Everybody kind of has their own dogs too. So we all own the dogs, and we all love and own and have the dogs and consider them our own. But one dog is your dog, typically. So we all do weigh in. But I feel like if there's I don't know that we ever disagree. Even if we do, we just talk through it till we see why. Oh yeah, that makes sense, And you can always do a breeding later for the other one. So for some reason, whatever reason, we don't disagree. How many litters do we have a year? I hadn't had a litter myself for 3 years. And so I just had a litter. I think we've had more this year than usual. Usually we have one a year. So this year's been a little bit different where we've had a couple, but there's also 3 households. So, usually it's a litter a year, if that. We've never really had many dogs. Even when we were growing up, it was maybe 6 to 10 max, but never had many. I have 4 adults here. What would you say is one of the greatest things your mom taught you growing up and showing the dogs? The greatest thing my mom taught me was how to care for dogs when they're home, when you're showing. Clean water always, making sure they're walked. Just the basics, that are maybe they're overlooked, but they really are the most important. if you want to have a dog that does well, then you know, when I was showing Jesse and I would go to the shows by myself with him, you know, where it was just me and him, I would just think about, you know, if I have the time, then I should be walking my dog. I should make sure he's not stuffed in a crate or an X-Pen or, you know, whatever. Go out and take him out. I have the time. I'm showing one dog. Make sure he always has clean water. Make sure he's happy, especially if you're specialing a dog. That dog should be top priority. And their happiness is the most important. Make sure they're cared for. So that's the best thing she taught me. Just care of the dogs, which we learned really young. As a child, was there a dog you saw in the flesh and now wish you had gone over them? Yes, I wish that I went over Give My Regards. I saw him at the National where he won his award merit and did not go over him. So that's one that I wish I had gone over. I don't know why, you know, I don't know. I was still fairly young, I guess, so I just didn't think about it. But I wish that was one that I went over. Okay, so I think that was the last question. I think it's delayed, but I think that was the last question. Thank you, Nancy, for asking me to do this. It was really fun. And hope you guys enjoy your night. I hope you like the bedtime story. I don't know how to turn this off. There we go.